Good evening, Goeienaand, Dumelang bagaetsho. It's so good to see you tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. We have some interesting things to discuss about tonight. So glad to know that life is a journey. Life is full of interesting and upsetting experiences, but we have to go through all those things, even the fires. We have to go through those fires because we have a promise. The fires will not destroy us. All right, we have that promise. But so good to be with you tonight, and thank you for tuning in. And as always, I'm not alone. I have my capable co-pilot with me tonight. And from me, welcome in the name of the Lord.
Well, thank you, President. And let me say that we also have our capable President with us as well tonight. And so glad that I'm able to share this platform with him. Truly a privilege for me to be able to interact with you together with our President in bringing some pertinent items and topics for discussion on our ACDP Let's Talk program. So we want to again invite you to call a friend, a family member, an uncle and aunt, and get your cup of coffee, hot Milo, chocolate, whatever drink that you fancy, and come and join in and listen in. As we say, good evening, Dumelang, Sanbonani, Goeienaand, and also remembering that South Africa needs the ACDP, and the ACDP needs you.
I want to ask you a question, sir. You don't seem to be liking my favorite tea, Rooibos, because you always invite people to bring their coffee to sit around, but you never mention Rooibos. You remind me of people who say, when they talk about tea, they say normal tea. And normal tea, they exclude Rooibos. And I think Rooibos is the normal tea. All these others, no, they have no health qualities and all that stuff. Joko, 5 roses. I don't know, maybe 6 roses would be better. 5 roses, Joko tea, but include Rooibos next time.
Next time I will include Rooibos, President. It's, just, I suppose, what you're familiar with. And unfortunately, Rooibos hasn't been my favorite cup of tea recently.
Well, welcome. Can we hear from you, friends? Those that have already joined, let's see who is the first today. The man who's the first one to come on the screen is from Mtuba in KZN, former MPL and provincial leader of KZN, Dade Bishop Sipho Eric Manxele. He says, greetings, Honorable President, Dr. K. Mishwe, Women of Destiny President, First Lady in brackets, Mrs. W. Mishwe, the co-pilot, the DP, Honorable Thring, and all members of our family, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Greetings, Dr. Manxele.
Ben Solomon says, good evening, my President, DP and Woman of Destiny President, and the ACDP family. We truly need ACDP, and the ACDP needs us, and the ACDP needs South Africa, and South Africa needs the ACDP. Shalom, shalom, Ben.
Melissa Isaiah, we bring greetings to our dear President, Women of Destiny President, DP, and my ACDP family in the most powerful name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you to our President for being the voice of Christ. Thank you, Melissa. That's very kind of you.
Palesa Yates, councillor from the city of Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, says, good evening, my leaders. Looking forward to hearing about how the ACDP is fighting church capture. Oh, that's another topic on its own, sir.
Yeah. Erika Saudi says, greetings to our Honorable President Mishwe, co-pilot DP Thring, Women of Destiny President, ACDP leaders, and family. Greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. Thank you for updating us. Blessings. Thank you, Erica. Indeed, greater is he that is in us. That's why we have to win, because of the greater one in us.
Oliwe Batalisi says, good evening, President DP and ACDP family. Good evening, Oliwe.
Jamil Isop, from the kingdom of what, KZN or KwaZulu-Natal? It is the kingdom.
It was the kingdom of the Zulus.
Yes, sir. All right, kingdom greetings, Honorable President, Honorable Deputy President, and the ACDP family. We are eagerly awaiting to hear about the leadership's great work. ACDP is the only hope for South Africa. Now, hold it there. Jamil, in Afrikaans, they say, jy die speaker op die kop geslaan. Okay, you have it definitely. This is not arrogance. That is the truth. The only hope. Now, to qualify that, in case some people are saying, but you guys are proud, what about other political parties? There is no party I know on a political platform today that openly says we need God to save this nation. That is the truth. Some of us have been on this road for years, okay? People will try to solve the problems in their nations without God. They won't make it. Even now in the house, I was talking to a member of the, I think it was PA, who was saying these guys, because he was upset with what they said to him when he said Israel. He said, these people think they can solve our problem without God. They cannot. They cannot. So I was just saying, Jamil, thank you for that statement. It is true.
Yeah. And Moses Poi says, good evening, Mr. President, DP and ACDP family. Good evening to you, Moses.
Lisander Dobson says, good evening, Mr. President, DP and ACDP family. Looking forward to tonight's live. Thank you and good evening to you, Lisander.
Ronald Harris, Councillor, this one I believe is certainly from the city of Johannesburg, says, grace and peace to our honorable pilots and the entire ACDP family. May tonight be as blessed as usual. Thank you, Honorable Councillor Harris.
Okay, looks like that's all for all the greetings for tonight, or the time that we have been allotted, because our technicians are very strict on time. They say we don't want to waste time on greetings, okay? We want to hear stuff, real stuff. What should we do? What is happening? What should we be aware of that we might not be aware? Maybe where we're going to start, we'll start with our visit. Last Friday, it was the 24th. The CRL invited us because of a letter we wrote to them. Okay, that's the team that was there, but the team is not finished. They didn't have everybody there. But the most important people from the ACDP side, we just need like one person who's a communications director. All right, the lady in between is the chairperson of the CRL, who said, hey, and she struggled to justify having made such a statement. She said, I was quoted out of context. Out of context. I really did not mean that, because I agree that God does speak. And I think maybe I should have asked her to go back on the screen and then say something about that. All right. But she said that God does not speak to people. And anybody will come to you and say, God spoke to me, tell them to go to a mental institution.
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatric ward, she said. Okay. Obviously, people were not happy. I was not happy because the Lord speak to us. In our church, I asked how many people have spoken to God and God has spoken to them.
Yeah.
People raise their hands. Because when we pray, we are speaking to God. And when we read the word, He speaks to us.
Yeah.
And that's the most reliable medium of hearing from God, His word. That's why even the prophecies and everything we hear, the dreams and all these things have to be measured by the standards of the word of God, the truth of the word of God. Anybody who says something that is against the scriptures, we should not accept anything from that person. All right, but we have some of the gentlemen who were with us on that day who are going to give us their side of their perspective of the meeting. Maybe the DP should introduce this subject to them, and then we have the chairman also say something about what he thought. Whether you want to go before the chairman or want the chairman to go before you, it's in your hands, sir.
Let me maybe, as you said, President, just kind of give some of the context, and then the chairman can come in, and then we can wrap up after the chairman has come in. So you may be aware that, as the president had indicated, on the 24th, we visited the offices of the CRL in Braamfontein. Our visit was predicated by a letter that our NSG had sent on behalf of the leadership of the ACDP to the CRL, expressing our concern as well as our opposition on any attempt for government or the CRL for that matter, or any other government institution to legislate against the church on behalf of the church. And so we set this meeting out, the letter out, and in the letter indicated that to a large extent, the church is an organization that has been established by none other than the Lord Jesus Christ himself, who said that he will build his church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. I quoted that particular scripture in the former, the sixth dispensation, when the CRL was in Parliament, together with a number of political members that were present, as well as members from the church. And just a reminder to the CRL of who the actual leader and the head of the church is. So we then met. The CRL responded, indicating that they received our letter late, and we reminded them of when the letter was sent. And so they responded to us requesting a meeting. So we met. We met last week, Friday. The delegation was led by our president. We had the chairman of the NEC. We had our NSG. We had our comms communications director and myself being present. We listened to the responses of the CRL's commission in terms of our concerns that we raised, and raised further questions to the CRL. But I think at the end, we affirm our position. And that position is that as the ACDP, we stand firmly against any attempt by the state to regulate the church. So that's the context under which we met. It was quite a lengthy meeting, from about 10, 11 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was quite a lengthy meeting. And perhaps this is the opportune time, maybe before we call the chairman, Mr. Tlaeli, to come in, just to indicate, in that meeting, I also raised two other issues with the CRL. One was what appears to be a partisan, an almost deliberate attack on the one organization or the one institution amongst the many that are found in South Africa. And the CRL says that there's many. There's the Christian sector, there's the Hindu, there's the Rastafarians, there's the Jews, there's the Muslims, there's a whole lot of different religious and cultural sectors. So I question whether this was not a concentrated effort to undermine the church, because the responsibility of the CRL is to protect and promote the protection and the promotion of cultural, religious, and linguistic groups. So I quoted an example. I said, can you imagine what would happen if we had mass baptisms that were taking place, and in those baptisms you had 48 boys that drowned this year, and maybe last year it was close on to 200 boys who drowned? What would be the outcry from the CRL and other groups against the church when you have this number of boys that have passed on? And I think I could see the eyes of the chair flashing, because she knew what I was saying, because we understand that there are initiates, boys who go out into these camps, and many of them don't make it back home to their parents because of the initiation ceremony that is botched by an inexperienced individual. And this has been happening for years. And to date, there is no fixed proposal in terms of how do we save the lives of these boys. And so that was the one issue that I raised. So maybe at this particular stage, let me also just invite our chairman, to Mr. Tlaedi, to actually now come online, and perhaps he can also just elaborate and add his perspective of the meeting that we had with the CRL Commission.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, Deputy President, and good evening to our ACDP members and supporters. Mr. President, it's a very great opportunity for me, thank you very much, to share our experience from the meeting that was conducted amongst ourselves and the CRL Commission. The DP has gone to length to explain what prompted this meeting. I'll just go straight to the agenda items that were discussed, and I think members are going to get some kind of information that maybe some of us were not even aware of. However, please, let's note that the agenda was initiated by the CRL chairperson. In that meeting, of course, it was the CRL chairperson herself, Chairman Kaluva Mkhwanazi. The deputy chairman was there as well, George Mahlangu, and the CEO, Edward Mafatsa, plus 3 of their commissioners. As the DP explained, our delegation, I won't repeat that, but it was a very interesting meeting, I must say. A meeting which most definitely, it had a lot to discuss, and you can understand the GP said it took about 4 hours to complete that meeting. Very hectic, but very interesting, I must say. The agenda, as dictated or promoted and proposed by the chairman, she wanted us to speak on the letter that ACDP sent out, and let us remind the members about the contents of that letter. The ACDP was very clear on that letter. We were contesting the need by the CRL to establish a peer review council that was going to deal with challenges of abuse by some religious, as they say, leaders. And of course, we noted that those individuals that would belong to this committee should be held fully accountable for their actions. And also, we also believed that the representation of this should be all-inclusive. And we're also contesting the fact that there has to be a delicate balance that must be maintained between protecting the public interest and respecting the autonomy of faith-based organizations. And that was our main core of contention. However, remember that they initiated from their first meeting starting 2017, the establishment of the Peer Review Council, which, according to them, would represent the diverse religious landscape of South Africa. Now, their reference in terms of their explanation to all our letters concerns was based on their Section 22 committee, which they said they were allowed by Section 22(1)(a) of the Act to establish this committee. And they follow the process. We did ask questions about that. They indicated that they consulted the big national religious organizations without mentioning their names. They mentioned two of them, your ZCC and other, your SACP affiliates, and SACC actually, not SACP, sorry, with the majority of affiliates and appointed leadership and membership of the Section 22 committee from them, and indicated that they are unable to intervene on the disputes between organizations and affiliates who withdrew from the committee. Members, let me state at this point that there was that question in terms of the committee's composition and how it was formed. The question of some of the members was questionable, and they indicated that unfortunately they are unable even to intervene on the disputes of some of the affiliates. You would know that there are affiliates of some organizations that withdraw immediately after the committee was established. We questioned as to whether this was not going to create some kind of challenges in terms of the committee stability. Unfortunately, that's when they said they would not be able to intervene between the organizations and the affiliates. It's a matter that has to be resolved by them. And also explain that the committee, in consultation with religious organizations, they will establish the peer review councils to self-regulate. Now, remember, all along, we told them that they have been flagging the word regulation and not necessarily self-regulate. And that is when they try to explain that that was a misconception out there in the public. They have been talking about self-regulation and not regulation by either the state, the government, or even by the CRL. And then the other matter, they explained that the committee, in consultation with religious organizations, I've said that one, will also establish the peer review council. But remember, in 2017, they conducted the national consultative conferences, and this did not happen at the time. And this led to their report, which they submitted to the COGTA Portfolio Committee, in which in 2018, the COGTA report was submitted. They shared the report with us. And of course, they did quote from that report. I will just mention a few things from that report. That report indicated the Commission's consultative methodology they used to the committee. They also indicated that only 85 religious leaders and traditional leaders were involved in those consultative meetings. And the Commission's findings and recommendations to COGTA, remember that this was their report to COGTA, and COGTA will respond thereafter. Example, they indicated that there was no database for religious leaders and places of worship, and the need to protect religious freedoms. I want us to underline they protect religious freedoms without attempting to regulate it. But we all know that this is where they deviated, even if they indicated in their report. So this is just a few things I mentioned in terms of their report to COGTA. Now, in terms of the committee's observations from that report, it's very interesting in terms of what they observed. The committee said the commission did not do sufficient public participation. Only 85 denominations were invited. And that was the finding and observation of the committee. Number two, they also observed that there was disagreement over the constitutionality of the CRL Commission's recommendations. And the committee also noted that the religion should not be commercialized. And the commercialization is, according to them, the committee, is an infringement of the constitutional right of the people. And finally, the CRL is not the body to be regulating the religious sector. Members, I want us to take note of these observations from the committee at the time. And if you check in terms of what happened hereafter, it was total, deviation from these observations, even if they made themselves aware of those important observations. And then they had to come up with their recommendations to the CRL. The committee said there must be an NCC, that is a National Consultative Conference, which did take place but did not complete its job at the time. Now, at this stage, they have started, according to the CRL, the second recommendation of the committee, and that is to establish and to draft a charter for self-regulation. Very interesting. and also a code of conduct for the sector. And they say this will have to be done by the newly established Section 22 committee through its broader consultative program leading up to the establishment of the peer review council. Now, if you look at this, it clearly shows that from the beginning, ever since they started their project, leading up to their report to the COPTA committee, there were a lot of discoveries in terms of the process that was followed, which the committee did not even agree to. Hence, they are now starting the whole process to sort of correct whatever they have done. Now, this is where the ACDP was very strong in terms of the issue of regulation, which we indicated. It is all over. That is what they are peddling. Now, the chairman tried by all means even to convince us that she was quoted out of context, as the president said. And she produced a video, the entire video. Unfortunately for her, the very same statement she said was quoted and cropped it and left out everything. It's there. It's not that it is not true that she didn't say what she said, that God does not speak to people. Anybody who thinks that God speaks, they need to be taken to a psychiatric, wards. And she was very not happy about that one. She claimed that she was quoted out of context, but the fact remains the ACDP indicated that, but it was true because it was part of the statement. So this is where the ACDP briefly indicated our concerns in terms of the letter, and their address to them generally, President says so. Their address was very general. Firstly, it was to deny that the CRL wants to regulate the churches. They referred us to their act, which gives them the responsibilities in terms of what they can do. The only thing they could do it is to investigate, as they have done with other churches and other institutions and other leaders, and they have the right to do so in terms of the act. And they also indicated that the function is to protect, not to regulate. And they said, therefore, the establishment of the committee is to initiate the process of self-regulation, which will, of course, be taken over by all the participants. Unfortunately, they only have the main churches there. Some are out, but they indicated anybody that is out, it is going to be of their own doing. They won't take the blame for that. But remember, initially they consulted only 85 institutions out of the whole of South Africa. So that's why they have to start the process again. So in terms of the Act of 1902, it's only used to indicate their powers, among others, the right to protect, as I indicated. But the second item on the agenda was a Forza letter, which we did not discuss much. We merely for information that Forza did also raise the same issues that we raised. However, Forza was very much strong in indicating that their intention is definitely to regulate. Like the ACDP, we believe in that. Up until this doesn't happen, we won't believe that is not true. So they have some contentions with Forza and their leadership. We're not going to talk about that now. Those are their issues they have to resolve. Some of them are, placed at the court of laws and all those things. But that was about Forza, a second item. I think the third item was about a letter of complaint they received from the ZCC and Shembe churches, which was also for information's sake. We never discussed that into details. And I think the president did discuss that with the chairman. And the final one, of course, was the discussion of the video, which we disputed that it was true, a reflection of what she said in the public. So besides these meeting discussions and agenda items, discussions came through, questions were there. We did ask them about what about the statements that people are asking outside that you are going even to register the individual religious practitioners, as they call them. I can indicate that at the end, the chairman admitted that the religious practitioners must be registered so as to know who is doing what. So that is confirmed. And that is going to be their recommendation through the Section 22. As for the church registration, they said regulations, they said no, that is going to come out of the discussions with the Section 2020 leading up to Parliament in terms of redefining and tuning the legislation regarding that. So the other question was, what about that you are going to license the individual preachers? She refused to answer that one, said we can't do that, it's not in our hands, it will be in the hands of the peer review committees or councils, whether they accept that or not. Members of the ACDP, led by the deputy and the president, did ask a lot of questions, but we can tell you, as the president said, it was very clear that they were not prepared to accept anything, except to take the whole 4 hours to try and convince us that whatever was out there, even the march, interesting, they very much contested the march to say, how could people march on the basis that they're going to do the things they never said they're going to do? And they also wanted to even, as the president, he should have assisted as a leader, that march. But the fact remained, people were marching, they know what was the march about. It was about what we were there to contest the regulation of the religious institutions. And even if they wanted to deny that, it was a fact, and it was up to them to make sure that that is not going to happen. So members, briefly, Mr. President, I think ACDP managed to put through the sentiments and the concerns of all the institutions, the churches and other individuals who expressed their concerns even during the march. ACDP is considered to be the front runner. ACDP is considered to be the voice of the people. And I was happy to express, to show, to see the leader expressing her respect for our leader. She expressed that respect for our president. Members, you don't know, she has so much respect to an extent that she believes what our leader says will fly instead of any other leader. And for me, it was very, very, very encouraging to know that whatever the ACDP is doing through our leader is taken serious and it is respected. And so, President, I think I've got a lot of other pages, but I was trying to summarize the formal part of our discussions. And I want to believe that the DP did speak about others, and other members, if they're going to be part of the discussion, they may add on to the other specifics, which I might have left out. But for me, Mr. President, thank you very much. And this is where we ended with our meeting, with the hope that moving into the future, we'll continue to consult with them. Their doors, they said, were very open at any time. They would have wished that ACDP would have consulted with them before the march to get the details, not, and knowing that we already have the details and we are very much informed as the decision we took even to participate in the march. So thank you, Mr. President, for your boldness. And thank you very much for standing for the truth all the time. That was also recognized by the CRL Commission in its entirety. I thank you.
Thank you. You want to say something?
I think maybe before the president, because we want for him maybe to wrap up. I just wanted to add, thank you, Chairman Tlaedi, for your inputs. I think quite comprehensive, and also well researched, and well covered in terms of our discussions with the CRL. One of the questions I asked as well, President, was with regards to the recommendations that the CRL initially made with regards to the peer review mechanism that they proposed. With the peer review mechanism that they proposed, the CRL would actually be the final arbiter. This was in the previous dispensation. However, when they took their recommendations to COGTA, the recommendations were actually were not accepted. So from the words of the CRL Commission chairperson herself, the Commissioner Mkhwanazi Xaluva, she said that their recommendations are dead in the water. Those were her words. Our recommendations that we submitted to COGTA are dead in the water. What we are now focusing on are the recommendations of the committee. But there's some contention. There is some contention about those recommendations because those recommendations were in the previous dispensation, and whether those particular recommendations are still valid in the current dispensation. So that's also open for interpretation. However, within the recommendations of the committee, remember that the committee also recommended, that's in the previous parliamentary dispensation, the 6th parliament, the committee recommended that there ought to be a national convention as well as a charter for self-regulation, together with a code of conduct. But here's the thing, a code of conduct backed by or supported by legislation. Where is that legislation going to come from? Who is going to be producing that particular legislation? Who's going to be producing those drafts? Now, President, here's the thing. Just before coming up from the House, from Parliament, I saw, here's the title. The title says Exposed. And this, I have to also put out a clarification. We also would need to go and check this out and confirm. But this is from a person that I would trust, and it says Exposed. CRL Rights Commission plan to control your pastor and so your church. And it says that there is a leaked document. So this is what we need to go and verify. It says, this individual says they are in possession of a leaked document. And the leaked document is a white paper, a draft white paper. And I just want to find that. It says it's a draft white paper, and that draft white paper is looking at regulating the church. It says a 32-page document leaked from the first draft white paper framework, entitled Towards the Prevention and Administration of Harmful and Abusive Spiritual Transgressions Within Religious Communities. And this particular draft white paper lays out the plans of the CRL. I got this particular information just before coming here, and so it is something that we are going to have to interrogate, and certainly if it is true, then we would need to have another meeting with the CRL Commission. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, DP and Mr. Chairman, for giving. Okay, here's a question. Was the meetings recorded in audio or video? It was in audio. It was in audio. They requested not to use video, so it was in audio. And I don't know whether the SecGen managed to get a copy of that, because we need to get a copy. We need to get a copy.
Yes.
Now, what my colleagues have said is true. Actually, when I looked at what they said came from Parliament, the recommendation they said came from Parliament, there is a clash between the date those recommendations came from Parliament and the date that their recommendations went to Parliament. Because we know that we were informed that Parliament rejected their recommendations. But both of them 2018. All right? Now I asked the DP during the meeting to please go phone Parliament, our colleagues in Parliament, to ask to be sent the summary or the recommendations that COGTA made. We wanted to have that, to compare that with what the CRL gave us as recommendations coming from COGTA, from the committee. That to me was very suspicious, very suspicious. So we have not yet found the recommendations that came from COGTA, except what we were told that they rejected the thing. I wanted an official document. So our guy called the secretary of COGTA, and she answered the phone on WhatsApp saying she's overseas, she's not in the office. But as soon as she's back, she is going to give that information. All right? I phoned the secretary himself, Dr. Mkhize, and he unfortunately did not pick up the calls. Okay, I called him a few times, 3 or 4 times. The phone was just ringing. He did not pick up. Now, friends, something in my language, there is an expression that say, smell a rat, to smell a rat. I smell a rat in this whole thing. Okay? The CRL cannot be trusted at this stage, the commissioners. We were there on Friday. Thursday, I received a call from a journalist. The journalist asked me whether I knew that the CRL commissioners are divided. She said they are divided and only 4 approved and endorsed that Section 22 committee. All right? And she said, this journalist, I can give you the number of one of the commissioners. And so around 7, before we started the program, around 7, just actually after 7, I called this commissioner who said what the journalist said is true. Yeah. He said he also does not agree with the Section 22 committee. This commissioner said the way they were elected was not in a transparent manner. It was not transparent because the chairman of the CRL told us that they relied on the groups that they managed to talk to. So they will say to different groups, you give us somebody from your group. You give us some people, recommend people from your group. And they took these people from these groups and we were not there. We were not invited. Okay, we were not invited. We asked questions. Why are we not seeing people from the AFM church? A church that is more than 100 years old in the country. Why don't we see people from AOG, Assemblies of God? Okay, nobody there. Now, obviously, this Section 22 committee that was elected is not a representative. Only 4 commissioners out of 11, 12 were there to endorse. Even when on that day, these are Section 22 members that were not voted for democratically, but the head of the church would say, I give you so and so. The head of the church would say, I give you so and so. Now, this is not what the committee had in mind. They wanted a dialogue. They did not want individuals from different sects and only even 85 groups. Okay, only 85. Many were not approached. That's why I'm saying we did not know about, we were not invited to submit the name of somebody we wanted in this Section 22 committee. So we are going to dispute that. One of the things that was said, that I think the DP mentioned, was that a number of people are not happy because they felt they were left out. Now, if people feel they were left out because they were not invited like us, I think we have to go back to the drawing board. Whatever will be built on what this Section 22 committee is going to establish, okay, whatever is going to build on them is not going to be firm enough, it's not going to be strong enough. Why? Because they themselves are divided. You know, if the commissioners would come as a group and say, we have agreed, but they have not agreed. They have not resolved their differences because they think the chairperson is pushing this whole thing. Okay. Now, and that's what we're going to tell them. This is what some of the commissioners are saying because they feel left out of the whole process. So please, you have to be patient with us. I will want to talk to the minister. I know the DP has submitted some questions
For oral written reply.
written reply. All right, I will do for oral reply, so that if we debate, we talk in Parliament about it, so that people can watch and see us discussing this matter. The DP made submitted questions for written, so his responses will be in writing, and then it ends there. Unless in future he can say, no, I also want this to be debated. So I'm going to, this coming week, I'm going to write letters, submit questions, and say for oral reply. We want to debate these matters in Parliament. And we want to ask these people that we have accepted. Now, something important that this commissioner said to me, he said, when they were elected as commissioners, they were obviously interviewed. These ones were not interviewed because churches submitted them. Okay, they were interviewed by different people, and they were also vetted. Okay, these ones were not interviewed and they were not vetted. Yeah. So ACDP is going to say the process must be started afresh. With this Section 22, we are not happy with how this Section 22 was elected. When they were launching and making public this Section 22, there was a lady pastor, don't know her name, on our table. And she was very upset. Said, look at them, they're all men, Where are women? Now, she raised her hand. She spoke to one of the officials and said, may I please ask a question? They said no. Okay, even that day, there were women. Now, when we asked them the question, what did the chairperson say? The chairperson said, you know, it is the problem that you still have in your churches. You never elect women. If it was an open and transparent process, women would have been elected. So they're just men who seem to be controlled by this lady, these women, and that's something that we definitely have to challenge. So maybe let's stop here for today and talk about other things. But now, this matter we are giving plenty of time because it is one of the most important things we can do. We do not want to be ruled by what the Chinese are doing. Okay, because ANC is controlled, it's influenced by the Chinese and the communists. They influence it. That is why we do not want to have a similar thing. Now, the interesting thing about that video we showed you from China, persecuting the churches, persecuting the pastors. In the constitution of China, of the Communist Party, they say they believe in freedom of religion. Can you believe that? So words on paper don't say much. In writing, they say they believe in freedom of religion. And yet they expect people to toe the line, to say what they want to hear, not to criticize them. They want to do what even, I don't know, the guys in Houston municipality. A few years ago, I was in the US. Now we see, and we are told, we read in the papers that the Houston mayor, who was a lady that time, was very upset with what some churches were preaching, saying LGBTQ is wrong and all this stuff. And she said, now in this city, all churches, you must submit your sermon notes. Before you preach, we want to see what you're going to preach. All right? Obviously, there was a very almost violent reaction from the churches. Then she dropped that. She was advised, drop that, because Republicans, it was becoming a political thing. The Republicans will say, you can't do that to the pastors. You can't do that and all that stuff. So now, the CRL leadership, the chairman would say, but you know our constitution. We'll never do that. You know our constitution. We'll never do that. We have been told, and this we did not verify, that the Communist Party is now on the verge of amending their constitution to deal with this thing of the church. Ladies and gentlemen, you are powerful. Okay? you are powerful and the enemy is scared of you.
Yeah.
We are sorry, and we find it very unfortunate that there are some pastors who were not maybe educated, who were not properly trained, who feed people snakes, who sleep around in the church, the Omotoso thing. That is regrettable. It's wrong. But we are saying lay charges.
Absolutely.
Do you know that when that young man who gave people petrol, when I saw that, I thought, I'm going to lay a charge. I went to Harangua police station, because I was told that guy live in that area and that incident happened in that area. So that would be the best place to go. I went to the police station in Harangua. But the interesting thing is, the police refused to open the case. They said, no, there are people who are still in hospital as we speak. We went to them, we wanted to take statements from them, and they refused. They said, this is none of your business. So this guy said, no, we cannot open the case unless we have somebody who will witness. I was there, I saw it. And on that basis, they refuse. We will find a way of dealing with that. Actually, the police have to look into every matter that is being reported. But I told the CRL people that I went. So we don't need new committees to check on what the church is doing. We don't want the CRL to come with another committee that will endorse, critique, and say, no, this is right, this is not right. No, anybody who violates and breaks the law, anybody who abuses the rights of people, open a case. Go to the police. Go to the police.
Sorry, sir, just on this one. The question, one of the other questions that I asked the CRL chair was, why are the laws not being enforced? Because if the laws were enforced, particularly, for example, with the Omotoso case, this would not have happened.
True.
If our Home Affairs officials, if our border officials did what they were supposed to do in vetting immigrants coming into the country, are they legal or are they illegal? Are they doing, if they came in legally, are they doing what they said they would do in terms of their visa requirements? Because if Home Affairs, the border authorities, the South African police were doing what they were supposed to do, most of these transgressions would not have taken place. Her response was, no, we actually need the church. She says some of these pastors come into the country because they put on when they have to fill in the visa documents and so on, they say, we are coming to South Africa to perform miracles. This is what the commissioner said. They're coming to South Africa to perform miracles. And the Home Affairs officials don't know how to respond to that, and so they just let them in. Now, she says, so that's why we need for you, the church, to create this set of guidelines, these governing guidelines to prevent these individuals from coming into South Africa illegally or under false pretenses. But here again, it is a clear indication of the failure of government to implement its own laws, and now lays it at the feet of the church and say, actually, this is your problem, not ours, and in the process seeks to punish the church for what government is failing to do. So that was my assessment, President, and hopefully, as you said, our NSG would have a recording of those discussions that we had, because this would also come up in the discussions, the audio recording.
Yeah. You know that there is a mistake that was made by the current government since '94. They said we are now free. We don't want anybody to have fear anymore. Okay? People must fear the arm of the law.
Absolutely.
People must fear the arm of the law. When people know that I'm going to be punished, that causes them to think twice before they do wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? And when people see somebody being punished for doing wrong, those who are watching say, no, I don't want that kind of punishment. So what am I going to do? I won't do that because it is wrong. All right. I said it was not in the meeting. I was discussing with somebody. I said, actually on radio, a good example of how fear of punishment works. I said, check. Since the Omotoso case started, the guys, nobody was fed grass, nobody was given petrol, because they realized, I will be arrested if I do this.
Yeah.
So now they're not doing it. Why? Because of fear. All right? We need a government that will punish those who do wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? When people realize there's going to be punished, I mean like children at home. When a child knows that if mommy find me with my fingers in the
cookie jar,
I'm going to be, then they don't do that.
Yeah.
They hide themselves, okay? So now, South Africa is in trouble now because the ANC has said, do away with fear. And ACDP is saying, let the law-abiding citizen be free from fear, but let the criminals and those who are breaking the law see the product of fear, the consequences of fear that will lead them to be punished.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying, hey, and time is almost gone. Fear is necessary.
Yeah.
That's why the scriptures are saying you want to avoid punishment, do what is right.
Obey the law.
Obey the law. If you don't, so we have people who are doing a lot of wrong things because they know they are going to get away with it.
Yeah.
I had a 30 minutes radio interview with Lesedi FM this morning. Yeah, 20 minutes from 20 to 5 to 25 to 5 o'clock. 20 to 6 to 6 o'clock this morning. It was about killing. Why are men killing women the way it's happening in South Africa? They were referring to the two young ladies who were seen. Okay, no, because people don't fear. These men don't care. They know they're going to get away with it. So South Africa needs ACDP.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, South Africa needs the ACDP.
Yes, sir.
We definitely, even with this, the issue of the CRL, the rules and the regulations, it will not happen. That I must guarantee you. What they want to do will not happen. Okay? I'm going to contact the minister of COGTA. I tried to contact the chairman who didn't answer my calls today. My office contacted the secretary of COGTA, who is unfortunately overseas. So we are going to bring all the documents. You are going to say, give us in writing, and we'll put them on the screen for everybody to see. But what these guys want to do with the Section 22 committee, it is not going to happen. So we are going to ensure that we have this process starting afresh with everybody, the whole process being transparent. Because this was not transparent. Okay, this was not transparent. How they have this Section 22 main there, it was not transparent. We want transparency, and we are going to say until we have transparency, don't even talk about the regulations. We are not there yet. Let's get the basics right. And the basics are we need. Well, the act allows them to have a committee that will do some work for them.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now they want to use this committee that is going to tell us what is right and what is wrong. Tell me, if a person is not born again, how do they define what is right and what is not wrong? That is a challenge we're going to have.
Sure.
We have these guys now who are not born again, who are appointed in their churches, and then they are going to try and rule over us. It is not going to happen. Okay, sir, time is gone. Will you please say your last words before we close for today?
Well, thank you again, President. I think my concluding words is let's remember to pray also for our brothers and sisters within the body of Christ in northern Mozambique, where just yesterday some 20 odd members, Christians, were actually killed. 2 churches were burnt down, as well as in the northern parts of Nigeria, where hundreds of Christians have been massacred by your Islamic jihadist groups, both in Mozambique as well as in Nigeria. So and it's taking place in other parts of the world as well. So let's just remember to pray for our brothers and sisters in those parts of the world and just bring them before the Lord. So thank you again for your time, and thank you for listening into this week's broadcast. Looking forward to sharing with you again next week.
So sorry that we only could deal with one subject, but it's very important.
Absolutely, sir.
We cannot allow people to stop us from fulfilling the Great Commission.
Yeah.
We cannot allow that. That to me is more important than many other things we are talking about and doing. We want to make sure that your right to preach the gospel is protected. That nobody is going to tell you what you can do, what you cannot do regarding that. And we do not want. I heard that in Rwanda, you cannot be a preacher without a degree.
Huh? Okay.
In Rwanda. Okay. I have a friend there. Actually, a few years ago, we had him. We had interviewed him.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Ambassador Charles.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
He does not have a degree, so they stopped him from preaching. All those who did not have degrees. Where do you find that in scriptures?
You don't.
I mean, even Jesus, they were saying he's uneducated. Peter,
fisherman.
John. Okay. When people were surprised by the miracles that they were doing, they said, but these people, not even educated. Okay. So I'm not saying people should not be educated, but I'm saying it is wrong for government to say, if you don't have a degree, you cannot preach. It is none of their business. They must stay out of who is called to preach. And they cannot say to God, you made a mistake by choosing this person, by calling this person who was not who doesn't have a degree.
Absolutely.
We are going to preach the gospel until Jesus comes. As long as there's breath in me, I'll remain a preacher. Even when I'm no more an MP, a member of parliament.
Yep, that's right.
I will be a preacher.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm also protecting my right to preach and to continue preaching. Well, the Lord bless you. Thank you so much for listening to us tonight. I trust that you are encouraged to know that there are people who are fighting your battles, your rights to preach the gospel. The Lord bless you, and good night.
Good night.